Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Inshallah, in today's talk, we'll continue where we left off last week, which was when Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when he was on his deathbed, and he told the Sahaba that his time is near close to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, he wanted the Ummah to elect their new Khalifa. And we talked about the whole thing as Abu Bakr was given this authority by the Sahaba to nominate somebody. And after the nomination, it's the Ummah that at the end of the day gave the bay'ah to Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, and he became the Khalifa. And after he became the Khalifa, there are various reports regarding the speech that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu gave. And we'll talk about parts of them, inshallah, and then look into the essence of the speech of Umar bin Khattab today. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the results of the ruling of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu that the people felt when he was Khalifa. So as I said, there are different reports regarding his speech. One of the reports talk about that when he got on the minbar. Whenever reports say he got on the minbar, specifically talking about Medina, is talking about the minbar of the Masjid al-Nabawi, the mosque of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he got on the minbar, pulpit, and he said, "Oh Allah, I am harsh, so make me softer. I am weak, so make me strong. I am stingy, so make me generous." And similarly, the other narration says, he said, "Allah is testing you with me and testing me with you after my two companions. By Allah, I will not delegate to anyone else any of your affairs that I can deal with directly. If there is anything that I cannot deal with directly, I will try to delegate it to people who are able to deal with it and are trustworthy. By Allah, if the governors, do well, I will reward them. And if they do badly, I will punish them. And those who heard his speech and narrated it said, by Allah, that was his way until he departed this world." Meaning, whatever he said in his opening remarks when he became the Khalifa, he abided by it. And there's other reports that say that he said, "I would not like Allah to see me putting myself." Actually, he got on the minbar and tried to set on the place where Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu used to sit, and he wanted to go a little bit lower than where Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu used to sit. And he said, "I would not like Allah to see me putting myself on the same level as Abu Bakr." So he went down one step. Then he praised Allah, and then he said, "Read Quran and you will be recognized for it. Act upon it and you will be among its people. Bring yourselves to account before you are brought to account. Prepare yourselves for the great parade on the day when you will be brought to judgment before Allah, and not a secret of you will be hidden." As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُعْرَضُونَ لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ. That there will be no secret hidden that day. No one who is in a position to be obeyed should be obeyed in anything that involves disobedience towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With regard to the wealth of Allah, I see myself as being the guardian of an orphan. If I find a means of being independent, I will refrain from taking anything from it. If I need to. But if I need to, I will take on reasonable basis. So as we know, the hukum regarding the orphans is that if you are the caretaker of the wealth of the orphan, or the orphan herself or himself, then what you do is you can take care of it. And if there is, because you're taking care of the orphans and you are spending your time, that moves you away from making your earning, or you're not able to make living, then you are allowed to take portion of it as customary is allowed. And of course, if you don't need to, it's better not to. And that's what Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh mentioned about Baytul Mal, the wealth which is in the Baytul Mal, or the treasury of the Islamic State, that he said that he will not touch it. He will treat that wealth as a wealth of an orphan. Does not mean, or wealth of he's a guardian over the wealth of an orphan. Does not mean he's calling that the wealth belongs to the orphan or something. He's just giving an analogy over here. And similarly, in another report, he says, I have been appointed as your leader, O people, so understand that harshness has become less, and it will only be applied to wrongdoers and oppressors. I will not allow anyone to oppress anyone else or to transgress in rights of others, but I will put his cheek on the ground and place my foot on his other cheek until he submits to the truth. In contrast to the former harshness of mine, I will lay my own cheek on the ground before those who are humble and modest. O people, I make some promises to you, which I will mention so that you will hold me to them. I promise that I will not take anything of yours, your taxes, or of the booty that Allah grants to you, except in the proper manner. I promise you that whatever I do take, I will not spend it except in the proper manner. I promise you that I will increase your stipends if Allah wills, and I will protect your borders. I promise that I will not throw you in dangerous places or keep you away from your families for a long time to guard the borders. When you are away on military campaigns, I will be responsible for your children until you come back to them. Fear Allah, O slaves of Allah, and help me by keeping your evil away from me, and by enjoining what is good and what is evil, and by giving me sincere advice with regard to the way I am running your affairs. I say these words of mine and I ask Allah to forgive me and you. So subhanAllah, these are the opening words that Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh said when he became the Khalifa or Amir al-Mu'mineen after Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh. There are a few points to remember about his opening remarks. Number one, he mentioned about that this is a test for him and for the people. When we say test here, meaning Allah Azza wa Jal have placed you in a situation that you must abide by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded you do. Whether you are the ruler or you are ruled. Either way, you are tested. Each person has his own test. Then he reminded the people of responsibility on his own shoulders. And he mentioned that he will take care of any problem that comes up by himself directly. If he's not able to take care of it, then he will delegate to somebody that who's a trustworthy person, and he will take care of the problem. And then also he recognizes in his speech that he was harsh. As we talked about it when Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when he was trying to take the advice from the Sahaba before he passed away. And Talha bin Ubaidullah, he is the one who actually reminded Abu Bakr that you are leaving such a harsh person behind us. So Umar was well known about that. He was tough, he was firm. And to a point, sometimes you feel like he's accepting that he was harsh. So he asked, and he told the people that he will become lenient, because now the burden was on his shoulder. Prior to that, it was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was among them, and after Abu Bakr. So they were the leaders. Umar was one of the people from the Ummah around them. Yes, he was very close to them. And then he also promises that he will defend the Ummah. And when he's saying Ummah, that includes any citizen who is under him, Muslim, non-Muslim alike, as we will see later on, inshallah. And he talks about that he will take care of the people as a whole. And every individual, and this is how Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, his life is filled with many incidents like that, where how he was holding himself accountable for every individual who was subject to him. And inshallah, this is just a beginning. We're just trying to put up together, and we will go examples of his life later on more and more. And at the same time, he also sets the expectations from the ummah as well. He's not just talking about himself, but he also wants the ummah to understand that there are expectations from them as well. And everything he connects it back to taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because taking it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who we are accountable to. And then he not only that, he makes the dua to Allah Azza wa Jal as well about that he was harsh. And he made dua that, oh Allah, I am harsh, so make me lenient. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentions about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Surah Al-Imran, وَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and by mercy of Allah, you dealt with them with the rahmah, with the mercy. And if you would have been harsh or severe with these people, they may have abandoned you. That's what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was told, which means to be merciful, Allah Azza wa Jal wants from us to be merciful if we are in these positions. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَعَفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. And forgive them their shortcomings. And consult with them as well. This is to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Of course, that applies to all. As we know, that any command that comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or any khatab, address to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is an address for the whole ummah, unless there's a clear indicator, there's some indication that shows that a specific address was only for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and that does not apply to other Muslims. Similarly, when we look into the details of that, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu once asked the Sahaba, is he a Khalifa or is he a king, a Malik? And the different narrations, one of the narrations is by Salman Farsi. So Umar asked Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu, so he said, am I a king or a Khalifa? Salman said, radiallahu anhu, if you collect from them, from the land, a dirham or less or more, doesn't matter. Dirham is a small amount. Not talking about dinar. The dirham is the silver one. If you take less or more than a dirham even, and put it where it does not belong, then you are a king. And not a Khalifa. And Umar started crying for that. See, such a high standard that they had. And when we talk about Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, as we talked about his life in the Jahiliyyah, when he was not a Muslim, the very same Umar in the Jahiliyyah was an enemy towards the Muslimin. As when we were discussing the story when he came into the fold of Islam, when a Muslimah, a Sahabiyah, she saw some softness in Umar's attitude, and she thought he may be coming to Islam. Other Sahabi came and he said that you think that he will become Muslim? And his response was that the donkey of Khattab will become Muslim before Umar. Khattab was the father of Umar, radiallahu anhu. So this is how Umar was. But the very same Umar, radiallahu anhu, look, he's crying for this, that what kind of a burden he is carrying. Talking about less than a dirham, if it's spent in the wrong way, then it should have been spent. And I don't have to go into the details of how we see the rulers nowadays. They come with some amount of wealth, and when they come to power, and if you look at their wealth after they leave the house where they were ruling, it multiplies. Not even talking about going dirham or dinar here and there. It multiplies to a point they have to move their wealth to different places. And subhanAllah, they end up in Pandora papers then, or Pandora leaks, whatever it's called. Now, Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu also was very careful about the shura, meaning consultation with the Sahaba. He did not just kept it to himself his way or highway. And when we talk about shura, of course, we have to understand what does it mean by shura. Allah Azza wa Jal actually commands وَالَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ وَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَ بَيْنَهُمْ مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, well, those who answer the call of their Rabb, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the only Rabb, Allah, and to worship none but Him alone, talking about Allah subhanahu, and who conduct their affairs by mutual consultation. So they pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and with salah, the connection is to consultation as well. This is a very important aspect of Islam to do the shura. But at the same time, we have to understand what is shura. Shura is not about making laws. Shura about something which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it permissible, mubah, and within those mubah permissible things, you're doing the shura, which action should be taken which way. You cannot make halal haram and haram halal by shura, of course. Okay. And then Umar ibn Khattab himself said about the shura, and he said, there is nothing good in a decision taken without consultation. An individual's opinion is like a single thread. Two opinions are like two interwoven threads, and three can never be broken. Consult regarding your affairs, those who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So consultation has very important regards in Islam. It is one of the things that has been commanded to us to be there. Now, a couple of the incidents, inshallah, we'll talk about to give an idea of what we talk about, what he said about how he will be ruling and what he wants to do in his opening speech. We find throughout his life, the rest of the 10 plus years when he was ruling over the Muslimin, and a very huge area actually he ruled over. And the Islam spread very fast, rapidly during his time. So some of the things we see very clearly. And because he was ruling by the principles of Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from the Quran and the Sunnah, we see the results, we see the justice that prevailed in the land where Islam was ruled with. We see the equality among the people, no matter they were Muslims or non-Muslims. Because Allah Azza wa Jal commands us, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, kunu qawwamina bil qist lil shuhada, kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada bil qist. ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا عدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, commanding the believers that to be the one stand firmly out for Allah as just witnesses. So this is a command for us to be the one who provides the justice. But justice also has to be defined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot think of we are the one who will come up with our own definition of justice. So justice comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even in those cases where you may have to go against even your own loved ones, because what Allah commanded, you have to stick with that. That's what the justice is about. Then, when we look at the justice which was provided in the time of Umar al-Khattab, there was a case was brought in front of Umar al-Khattab. A Yahudi came against a Muslim. And when the case was brought in front of Umar al-Khattab, he saw that the Yahudi was on the right and the Muslim was on the wrong. And he made the decision in the favor of the Yahudi. Yahudi himself, the Jewish person himself, came to Umar and he said that by Allah, you have ruled aright. You have done the right thing. Even the Yahudi, he was able to see it. Similarly, in the time of Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, when the Misr was open, and Amr bin al-As radiallahu anhu, he was the governor or the wali of Misr. And his son had a race with a Coptic or Masri and a Qibti. So his son, Amr bin al-As' son, he lost the race. And he started beating up the Coptic person, the Masri. And he said, Ana ibnul akramin. I am the son of the honorable ones. And he started beating up. Now, this case was taken to Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, and it was mentioned to him that this is what the son of Amr bin al-As did. Now, Umar is in Medina. He commands Amr bin al-As himself and the son, both of them to show up in Medina now. They come over there, and then he says, where is the Egyptian who came? And then, because he was hit by the whip, so he said, go take a whip and hit him, hit his son now. He started beating him up. And people said he hit him good. And people were happy to see that what was happening. So, and he said like this, Idrib ibn al-Akramin, hit the son of the honorable one. And after that, when he was done, then Umar said, now hit Amr bin al-As. Now the Egyptian says, he's not the one who hit me. It's his son who hit me. So upon that, and he said, I am satisfied. So Umar said to Amr bin al-As, that since when did you enslave people whose mothers bore them free? And then Amr bin al-As said, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, I was not aware of this incident. Amr bin al-As, he is one of the greatest Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But again, still, this was the justice. Even a Qibti who's coming, a Masri Egyptian coming and asking for justice, and this is how he provided. Similarly, when it comes to the kind of equality Islam provides on the basis of the teachings of Allah, Quran and Sunnah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, inna Allaha alimun khabir. O people, we have created you from one man, one woman. And we are the one who made you into nations and tribes, so you can recognize each other. And indeed, the one who is honorable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has more taqwa. And Allah has the ilm, knowledge, and He is the khabir. He is the one who have the information. Who is muttaqi and who is not? Who has the taqwa, who has not taqwa? Now, when we look about this kind of the equality, how it was provided, if you remember one of the years which was referred as Amur Ramada during the time of Umar ibn Khattab. Amur Ramada means year of ashes, because it was a drought in Medina, and the drought was so dry, it became that when the wind was blowing, it was like as if the ashes were blowing in the air. So this is why, hence it was called Amur Ramada. So it was so, the food became so difficult to find that Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh has not eaten ghee or yogurt or milk for a long period of time. And Umar swore that he would not eat ghee, yogurt, and milk until all the people could afford to have these things. And then some ghee and yogurt reached the marketplace, and a slave bought them for Umar ibn Khattab for 40 dirhams. He came to Umar and said, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is some ghee and yogurt for you. Now, Umar ibn Khattab said, you pay too much for that. You're too much for that. And he said, I cannot eat that extravagant. SubhanAllah, we're talking about only ghee and yogurt here. This is extravagant, he said. I cannot eat that. And he said, you cannot eat that until it is accessible to everybody. And until everybody is able to afford that stuff, Umar Khattab says he's not going to eat. And the one that was brought, he just gave it to in charity. And there's a statement over there. When he was eating, so he was eating bread and olive oil. He was dipping the bread into olive oil and eating it. His stomach was making noise, qarqari, like a rumbling noise, the growling with his stomach is empty. Umar is talking to his stomach, and he said, you can rumble as much as you want. You are not going to get this ghee until people eat it. SubhanAllah. Nowadays, I just read the news about, in general, the world, and especially about Pakistan, for example, how the price of the thing, everything is becoming so expensive, and it's becoming out of reach for normal people, many things. And on contrary to that, the one who are in power, whichever they are in power structure, they are the one who get all sorts of goodies of life, while a regular person has been crushed. And these are our examples of Islam, the way Islam made the people. It's not a person itself is something. It's when he starts following the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that makes him something. It's not the physical body we're talking about. It's the actions that he does because of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, when we talk about this equality, one time, it is reported by Ibn Abbas, Umar al-Khattab came for Hajj. Hajj meaning, of course, he was in Medina, as that was the capital for the Muslims. So Hajj is in Mecca. So he came for Hajj in Mecca, and Safwan bin Umayyah made food for him. And they brought a vessel that was carried by 4 men. Servants are bringing the food, they put the food, and this went on the side. And Umar is watching them. He said, aren't they going to eat with us? And Safwan bin Umayyah responded, no, this is for us. And Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, he said to them that no, by Allah, commander of, then he was said that it's not for them. So Umar became very angry. He said, who are these people who give themselves precedence over their servants? May Allah punish them. And then he said to the servants, eat. And he let them eat, and Umar did not eat. So equality is not about just the ruler and the ruled. He was showing to the regular people also that how to take care of each other. Similarly, Umar would not eat food that was not available to all the Muslims. And he used to fast a lot to make sure that he's eating that everybody can eat. So one time, during the famine, some of the Muslims, they slaughtered a camel. And they gave him the meat to the people and took the best part of it, the hump and the liver considered as the best part, and they gave it to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. So they said, it's from the camel be slaughtered. He said, no, oh no, what a bad ruler I am if I eat from the best of it and the people eat from the worst of it. Take this away and bring some other food. And then he ended up again eating the bread with the olive oil. SubhanAllah, this is what we have to learn when we are talking about Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, or other Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we learn about the stories of them, there is a lesson for us. So we act accordingly, like them, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has commanded to us, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. These stories are not for just the sake of stories. Rather, it is a reminder for us. Look how careful they were about even today, probably we think of food as a very minor thing. But they were so much careful about that, even eating yogurt and ghee. SubhanAllah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll stop here inshallah today and we'll continue about the life of Umar next week. If there's any questions or comments about the subject that's covered, inshallah, I'll try to answer.